Welcome to Metallarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Sodom, this new album, The Arsonist, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking how are you doing today? How did the last band do in the last couple of years? Because your previous album was released in 2020, then you released 40 Years of War, The Greatest Hell of Sodom, and now we have this new album.
I'm fine. I'm fine. And I can tell you, I hold a new product in my hand.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a box set, we have like usual different configurations from the album, like double vinyl CD. There is also a live EP in the box set and a tape. I'm fine. But you're right. It's 5 years ago since Genesis 19. That was when the pandemic was over. We were
Mhm.
so very busy with touring and all the stuff and concerts worldwide. But you're right, we released the 40 years Hell at War, we released a single um 1982. So we were busy all the time.
Hmm. Okay, but that's interesting to know. So now, how do you see compare the days that you released Genesis 19 with this arsonist? Because at that moment you mentioned it, we are on the pandemic. There is
Yeah.
no tours. There's no live concentration during 2 years, 2020, 2020, and 2021. There's no more
Yes.
gigs. But now the arsonist is coming. Is coming during the next couple weeks. So how is for you the many difference? What kind of difference find with that moment to now?
I think there is not a big difference. I think the difference on this album is so if you're gonna buy a Sodom album, you know exactly what you get. This is never changed. Um, the big difference to Genesis 19 is that we have a third songwriter in the band. Our drummer Tony also is the songwriter, and he wrote 4 or 5 songs for the new album. So we have York on the guitars and Frank and Tony is also a songwriter. And the other big difference that we recorded the drums on a tape machine. The sound is completely different to Genesis 19 because
Mhm.
we want to have a wide open production. I want to have a drum kit that sounds like a drum kit. So we came up with the idea. A friend of Tony's running a studio with a tape machine and from the 70s. And that was very interesting, just recording the drums on a tape machine to get a more organic, more natural sound. And also we put no samples on it, we put no trigger signals, no plugins. We want to have the purest drum sound as possible.
Okay, okay. Now I remember that I spoke with you when the album Genesis 19 was released. We spoke just by mail at that moment, so I just
Mm.
written interview at that moment. I remember that I questioned you about this, what is your opinion about now this situation, the actual situation with thrash metal, because now mostly all bands belongs to their sound, to your sound. Sodom, Destruction, Metallica, Slayer, the old bands are
Mm.
reflected in the new bands. So now, how do you see now this world with the new thrash metal world bands that try to reflect this your sound or try to just let's put this in a copy paste your sound?
I think it's going to be, the metal scene is getting bigger and bigger, and it's for me it's getting out of control because
Mm,
hundreds of new bands coming into the scene. And doing the thrash metal, try to do. Sodom is not, I can tell you, Sodom is not a thrash metal band. I
mhm,
think it's a typical thrash metal band. I think it's more like Exodus, Overkill, or Destruction. We never mind. When we start writing the songs, we just want to make a new Sodom album. We never mind if it's thrash metal or is there any black metal influence in it. That is not important. When we start writing the songs, we are completely outside from everything. There is no dictation from outside. We just want to write our songs. And yes, but just the scene changed because it's getting bigger and bigger. So, but if you're a Sodom fan, you know exactly. I know there is a new generation of Sodom fans growing up, and I
mhm,
talked to them. There were people, they were 14, 15 years old, and they told me that they're really interested in historical metal bands because these are the real metal bands. And that's what we want to documentate with a new album, where we're recording the drums without any effects on the tape machine, and recording everything with microphones. That we want to be an old school band, but writing new songs. That's a big difference. But we are not a thrash metal band. I think sort of the most riffs are normal, regular metal riffs, and that is important, we keep the typical Sodom trademarks in every song, which is my vocals, the lyrics, the arrangements, and the cover and everything.
Okay. And other thing that I remember from that interview that you spoke by mail or by written interview, I remember they asked you about the society because usually thrash metal has this option or is a reflect from the society from the 80s. And you mentioned in that moment, that information that is thrash metal is causing because the politics, the economic, the society at that moment, it was a huge impact during the 80s. It was reflected on that moment. But now, one thing I want to ask you about related with this is this the arsonist? It was composed during this chaotic time that during the pandemic, the dead people, the society, the economic. You can see because I think arsonists for me when I try to hear the sounds and more things related, it was the
Mm.
product. It was the product of that moment of the chaotic times during the pandemic. A lot of people dying, a lot of economics, a lot of. I know you know about this. Is this the situation for these arsonists?
Yeah, it could be, and the outside is not a special person. It's not a politic, whatever. It's not a special person. Um, from that time, from the pandemic to nowadays, we are living in a very chaotic time. I think, in my opinion, everything is getting out of control. You know, the whole world politics. No, I don't want to write about the big war or the big politics behind.
Mhm.
But if you see the TV news, in every country, something is exploding. It's
Mhm.
getting out of control. And that what the arsonist is maybe. If you see the front cover of the new album, you see a very peaceful situation, where the soldier and the death, they try to make an arrangement. They try to find a peace. And there is somebody who is above them who gonna destroy it. Who gonna set the world on fire. The arsonist is not somebody who was walking with gasoline and burning a church down. This arsonist, he gonna set the whole world on fire.
Mhm.
I don't want to describe the political situation. I will never do. I will use any names for anything. But I want to write about the things that really happened. But it's also about the soldiers who are fighting in the war. It's like tapophobia. It's just when the soldiers fighting in a trench on the front line, granite exploding next week. He get buried alive by all this stuff. I'm interested in the small things, in a war. You know. Last time I saw a video because from the Ukraine, they are fighting with drones coming down. And there was a Russian soldier who smoked his last cigarette, and then the drone falling down and killed him. That's stupid. It's horrible, but for me, it's the biggest inspiration for writing songs and writing lyrics.
Hmm.
But the
Oh,
message of the complete album is very simple. We
mhm.
want to live in a peaceful world. We want to live in freedom. Stop this. I had a couple of interviews with Russian people, with Ukraine people. They
Okay.
want to see a heavy metal band, especially Sodom, coming back. But we can't. If you are German, you cannot travel to Russia for making concerts there, or making gigs. It's impossible. And my dream is living in a free world without any war, where musicians can go wherever they want.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting point of view because well, usually your music just reflects for me since the beginning. So I remember Agent Orange or no other album from you that all the times are free. I never say that you talk about this something like war all the time. I just think that a concept is related with the free of the world because after a war all the times will be a freedom. That's the concept all the time. And
Mm.
for this one, so if we related this concept of the word of the arsonists also, so for you, do you think that in some way that you try to provide, as you mentioned about the war in Ukraine, is this arsonist has something relative with us more beyond of the war or the freedom aspect? So.
It could be. What you said, after the war will be peace, will be
Mhm.
freedom. But I don't think so. When this arsonist on the cover is set the world on fire, there will be no more people survived. this war, you know. You know what I mean? I think I don't want to talk about atomic or nuclear bombs, you know. But if there is something happened like this in this way, you know, nobody will survive. There will be no more freedom. There will be just that, you know. You have to look at the cover, you know. You have to look up. There is a lot of details in the cover, and you can see a lot of stories behind, you know. Um, the problem is I can write about the things I hate, you know, but I cannot change anything. You know? That is my problem, you know. But for me, it's a kind of therapy, writing songs and writing lyrics about the shit, you know.
Mhm.
I know I cannot. I'm not activity in a politic, you know. I cannot change anything, but I can scream it out, you know. And I want to write good lyrics. And there are a couple of lyrics about war, you know, but lyrics are about witch hunter, LG Ward and other things, you know. But the main theme is this cover, you know. This
Mm.
artworks says everything, you know.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
And I think our music and our lyrics fits perfectly to that cover artwork.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. For me, also, if you provide me this information, yes, for me, it's relating a lot of things because something between of war and something between after the war. So that's a good thing to see this cover art. Especially this is a very detailed topic with the cover art, especially for the helicopters on the other side and the
Yes.
pass out in the other side of the cover. So the piece on the other side when all people just were going home. I don't know. There's a lot of things. That's a curious thing to see. An interesting point about this one. And now, well, returning, well, more promotion of this, the arsonist. So, what kind of promotion do you have for this arsonist, Tom? Perhaps you will involve, perhaps more tours. You come again to Latin America. You present more videos. Who knows? What kind of promotion? Or perhaps you're already working a new album. Who knows?
No, no. I have a lot of promotion activities with all the interviewers and all the stuff we're gonna do. And I can tell you, we have two upcoming shows in this month,
Mm-hmm.
and then for me it's gone. You know, I think you heard about the rumors. You know, I want to do a break. I want to stop doing the music for a while. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have no plans for making a tour with the Arsenals or it. I know it's always to decide stop doing the music. It's always uncomfortable, especially for my band, especially for the record company. You know, they're gonna tell me you release a new album. You have to go to play the festivals around. We have hundreds of festivals in Germany and Europe, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and or touring, whatever, you know. I know that to decide making a break is always uncomfortable for everybody, you know, but not for me. You know, I decided to make. I want to make a break. I don't know when to come back. You know, I don't have any plans. You know, I just want to spend more time with other things. You know. And I can tell you, after the Corona pandemic, I was so busy every day, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was too much coming, too compressed sometimes, you know. Now I need more time for me, for my family, for my good old friends, for my hobbies, for other things to do, you know. And that's the way it is, you know. So I have no plans for coming back to Peru or South America or other countries, you know.
Mm, okay, interesting, interesting. What I understand in some ways because Sodom is one of the huge bands in the thrash metal scene, and also you have more than 40 years of existence. So that's I understand completely. And you have more than 15 albums on your career, and take a break. That's completely normal because 40 years, keep on rolling the same your music, your albums, and playing for a lot of gigs in around the world. But
Yeah.
either way, the question goes to that one. So why do you decide now to stop all this promotion from the album, gigs, tours? If there's any special reason beyond of the you said, for example.
No, 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 that's a special reason. You know, when you are my age, I'm like 62, you know, and I remember we've been in South America, we played in Mexico, and we have one gig and we traveled around for 10 days, you know. That's the thing. And I was standing there, I was sitting in a hotel, I was waiting at the airport, you know. I said, what I gonna do here, you know? I don't want to waste any time.
Mhm.
I don't want to waste time anymore, you know, sitting in a hotel, waiting here, waiting at the airport, sitting in the airplane for hours, 10 hours, maybe longer, and something like this, you know.
Mhm.
So, and no, it's also that I have to take care of some personal problems, you know. I'm very healthy. You know, my doctor is very satisfied. He said, you are in a very good condition, but slow it down a little bit. Do something, other things, you know.
Mm.
I know. I talked to the band last year, you know, and they said, okay, it's your decision. We are always loyal to you, what you decided, you know. It's your life. We have to do the best for your own life, you know. And that's the way it is, you know. But I can tell you, I'm still busy working on music, you know. Just to my home office. I'm sitting here in my office, you know. We talk about releasing the back catalog. I'm working at the time on Get What You Deserve re-release. I work together with Andy Brinks,
Mm.
and I talked to the BMG, the record label, for re-release the complete back catalog. You know, we had a Tapping the Vein out. Now it's coming to Get What You Deserve and Marooned. And then we want to go back to Obsessed by Cruelty, Persecution, Media, and all this stuff, you know. I'm still busy, believe me, but I don't want to tour for the next times. And I don't want to make music, you know. I just want to work on other things, you know.
Mm. Okay, interesting, interesting to know. So, in this situation, perhaps you will more focus on your project. For example, Uncle Tom, Angelripper, the band.
No, 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 no. No, Uncle Tom Angelripper is gone, you know. Um, we had a good time, you know. Uncle Tom was from we started in '95, you know.
Mm.
And no, I quit with Uncle Tom a couple of years ago. That was especially after the Corona, you know. Okay, I told the people when the Corona pandemic is over, we get so much offers for Sodom.
Mhm.
So I couldn't book two bands on the same day, you know. It's
Mm.
impossible, you know. So I quit with Uncle Tom, and I said Sodom is my main project. So we spend more time on the weekends we were touring with Sodom, you know. I don't can books with Uncle Tom and we get Sodom offers, you know. It's impossible, you know.
Mm.
I remember in times I played in four bands, you know. That was horrible. We played in Desperados. I played in Germany, Die Knappen, which is a German project, you know, and different other stuff, you know. But Sodom is my main band, and I was so busy just playing in Sodom, you know. So Uncle Tom is not more a theme. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the future brings. Maybe. Maybe I work with Uncle Tom. Maybe not. I don't know. I have no plans what to do the next time. So.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting news about this one because yes, I hear that you will stop, but not a very news or extended news, just a rumor about this one. But well, you mentioned that you will stop the band for we don't know exactly when. This Sodom will come back to the shows. I saw that I know that a lot of people will sad for this, but
I
the people
know. I know.
understand.
I
The people
know.
will understand about this.
Yes, I know that some people are disappointed about, oh, why? You know, that's life, you know. Life is always difficult, you know, it brings always something new, you know. I talked to my band, my band is, I think, Frank Blackfire. He is running his own project. It's called Frank Blackfire. He's running a guitar school. York is working in a record store, you know, in Dortmund. And Tony's playing at four or five different other bands because this drummer, all the bands want to get Tony on the drums, you know, because he's the best one in Germany, you know. He's busy, he's very busy with other projects, you know. I don't know, but for me, it's gone, you know. I want to just do a couple of other things, you know.
Okay, okay. Well, one more thing related to talk to the discography now from Sodom. Well, you have more than 15 records on your career. Each one is your son. You have a special meaning for each one because that's completely normal. That's completely normal with each one. So, but if we relate this topic, and for you, if we select three milestones in your career with Sodom Band, which albums will be? Perhaps for the first album, for the fans, it's Agent Orange. A lot of fans love that album. Other fans love M16. Other albums called Red. But
Mhm.
for you, as you are the creator for these 16 albums until this arsonists, which will be the three milestones from Sodom?
I love every album. It's very, you know, I think what you mentioned, Agent Orange, you know, Agent Orange for me is it's a is it's the best album of my career because from that time, you know, when Agent Orange came out, you know, I could make my live from the music, you know. And if you are a musician and you can make your live from the music, it's like a dream come true, you know. And Agent Orange, the record company, gave me the chance for quitting my job in a coal mine. I was working, and just spending more time with the music, with the band, And that was amazing. That was when, if you're a free man, you just make music, and get money for it. It was not so much money, but I could pay my apartment, I could pay my cigarettes and my beers, and then it's gone. And also in the Son of Evil, and in the Son of Evil, that we got the first contract in '84. I think in the Son of Evil was the first step from a band who just recording demos to a band recording songs in the studio, and release this thing worldwide. That was really something special. And the other thing is the third album is my favorite album. It's Get What You Deserve, because I like the music. I like the sound. I like the songs. I like the way we recorded this, because we recorded no overdubs on this album. This album is really something special. But in the end, I love every album.
Mm. Okay, okay,
And I
okay.
wouldn't change anything on any album. It is like it is.
Okay, okay, but it's interesting now. So now talking about other topic that I mentioned, remember for the previous interview that we spoke about this one. So one thing that I remember is talking about the new bands, because this new band has a different background. It's not like the 80s or 90s with or the
Mm.
80s, especially in the thrash metal. There is a different background. So
Mm.
now I read remember a message that the weak times brings tough mans, and now we are like the weak time or weak times, but there's no tough mans because there's all everything is now the globalization, the internet, the span connect, the
Yes.
span attention with internet. It's not like the 80s, because I was born in the 80s. I remember that it was difficult to have a bread here in Latin America. It's very difficult here than different than the 80 on Europe. But now
Mm.
Europe has a different stuff. You have 1,000. You said it. You have 1,000 of festivals in
Yes.
Europe. It's not like in 80s. I remember just 1 2 festivals in Europe. Here in Latin America, there's no gigs, there's no live to send. So what's your opinion about now this all this new movement in the metal scene in general? Because there's a lot of bands playing perfect, but not that
Mm.
they don't have this, I don't know, this courage or
The,
this things.
the spirit. Yeah, yeah. They don't. I know there was a lot of bands who tried to copy bands from the '80s. You cannot copy. So even myself, I can't copy all the Sodom stuff. I can just I can just re-record, but it's not the same. The spirit of the '80s completely gone. In my opinion, metal is getting more and more commercial. You can see metal in the TVs, in soundtracks, whatever. So when we starting the music, we want to shock the people around us. But nowadays, nobody is shocked when you listen to heavy metal. It's getting too, I don't know, I can't explain. The spirit of heavy metal is completely gone, in my opinion. There are a lot of good bands around. I don't want to tell you any names, but I know there are perfect players. They learn the guitars from the beginning. They get supported by parents. My parents never support me. In the '80s. We're just working hard to spend money for my own bass guitar. And that was a completely different times. But
Yeah.
I'm still a fan of the '80s. I'm still a fan of these times. Because now people listen to music on a smartphone.
Mhm.
And they just consume music on Spotify, which is usual nowadays. I'm coming from the '80s. I wanna enjoy music. It's when I get my album out, I listen to maybe a Judas Priest album from the '80s. Put it on my record player. I look to the cover, read the lyrics. I want to enjoy music, and I take my time for listening to music. But nowadays, everything gets so compressed. You get millions of metal songs on Spotify. You can listen to. And if you paid Spotify, you can listen to everything you want. That's the way it is nowadays. And that's for me, it's a shame. The metal scene is completely gone. It's
Mhm.
not more the same like in the '80s. But Sodom is the only one who tried to keep the spirit, the magic of the '80s. when we record it on tape, when we record it with microphones, you know, when we recording and mixing this in the studio, you know, we want to keep the tradition of real heavy metal.
Okay. Okay. Well, I understand. I'm so sorry. Oh, I understand completely about this one. Yes, but I'm coming from the 80s because I was born at that moment. So, but I remember that it was so different than now. It's completely different than now. So, well,
Yeah.
in this situation, well, talking about now, especially you said, now the new music, the new bands has this perfection in the sound. You can see because when I hear completely this arsonist, you bring back the old sound from the 80s. That's completely normal because you were born there. But now
Mhm.
there is a lot of great musicians in especially in the studio. Great musicians, great sound, nothing bad, nothing awful. Now everything is perfect, good albums,
Yeah.
good records. In a live presentation, all the musicians play perfect. There is no bad
Yeah,
musician.
that very clean, you know. They play perfect, but they play there's no spirit in it. There's no magic, you know.
Mhm.
You know, I talked to another guy about the AI, you know, that people use this for writing songs, writing music, recording songs, or doing album covers, you know. You know, our cover is handmade. You can trust me. There is no computer generated stuff in it, you know. And that's what we're gonna do now, you know. A lot of musicians use this software for writing songs or using for creating guitar sounds, you know. You know, a lot of guitarists using Kemper, which is a kind of profiling amplifying system, you know. It's not a real guitar sound. You can say, I want to have a guitar sound like Metallica. You get it, you know.
Yeah.
It's shitty, you know. I don't want it, you know. I think heavy metal is coming from a heart. Heavy metal is coming from your fingers. Everything has to be handmade, you know. And if the cover artist, he's gonna pay by airbrush everything, putting everything together, you know.
Mhm.
I don't know what happened to the next 5 or 6 years, you know, when people, you know, when bands releasing 5 albums a year, you know
Mhm.
exactly what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I know you can work with the software. You can say to the software, I want to have a song like Venom. The singer have to sound like Tom Angelripper and the lyrics about Vietnam War. You just need one click
Mhm.
and you get it. You know.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Is
that's
is
true.
has this something to do with music or artist? No.
Mm.
So,
That
so you
is right.
can believe if you're a Sodom fan, you're gonna buy this stuff. It's everything is
Yeah.
handmade, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
reason why we record it on tape. We want to show the people we want to go back to the 80s. The tape machine was from the 70s, you know. We want to show the people that we are still there to hold the flag of the 80s.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Oh, that's really no. And we are very close to this interview, Tom. And one question that you brought me out because it is about the AI. So yes, I know that a lot of people are complaining about this, creating art, creating that. But for me, that is not the important thing because if you like Sodom, you like Sodom. You will not hear AI music because you like Sodom. Or if you have the A side, you will hear the side. You will not hear the AI. That's completely. It's
Yeah.
up to the people about that. Or to create the
Yeah.
art is up to the people. But into this topic, you can see now into you said it. You said one thing that Sodom is recording with tape. Now the music to bring the old spirit from the 80s. But now as you can see now the record studios are recording without amps or playing in live shows without amps. Sodom has the option to play with amps or with technicians or
Yeah.
or with a crowd involved of your sound. But now the new bands doesn't have this option. That the bands new just have the option to play just with one people, all plugins, no effects, no amps, in as the producers wants because the producers wants to obviously want to save more
Mhm.
money for them and just not to provide all these kind of benefits for the new bands. So what's your opinion about now the live shows? There's shop for the new bands. It's not playing anymore with amps, with FX, no crowd. All people you just need one person and that person handle everything.
Yeah, that's not my job, and that's not what I learned to do, you know. You know, when people use this software, you know, and they say, okay, I did a cover with AI.
Mhm.
But it's okay, you know. But when
Mhm.
people when people say I have to cover created with AI and paid it for myself, you know, you are a liar, you know. And that's what I don't believe. I believe that people gonna write songs with the software and you're gonna say, I have to write the song. I wrote the lyrics, you know. That's not true, you know. It's very confusing, you know. But we keep in line, you know. We keep in line that we play with Marshall amplification, with a real drum kit, with the live vocals.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of bands, their vocals are not live. They're coming from a machine, from a whatever, you know.
Mhm.
It's impossible. For me, it's impossible. So I can trust you when you go to the Sodom show, you're gonna buy a Sodom album, you get handmade stuff.
Hmm.
And you
Okay.
can trust me, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting point. Well, Tom, Tom, we are right to the sad moment of this interview. Well, I hope you
Mm.
enjoyed this one like me. This new album,
Mm.
as usually, is the sounds of Sodom's. Is a sound is the soul of the '80s, and thank you very much for this sound bringing back again. So perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans that will expect so long to bring back here because there's no tours for this new album.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry for this. But when there's come back, you know, we come to South America, especially Peru, we played there, you know.
Mhm.
I want to thank you for your support all over the decades, you know, and I want to thank you. You're waiting for the band coming back, you know, waiting for me coming back, you know, and thank you so much for your support all over the years.